This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tragedy on the water. 2 children are dead after a boat overturns on a lake in Queens County.
Banner campaign. Portraits of 140 veterans line the streets of Spring Hill.
And school reunion. This Halifax woman met up with former UK classmates from 75 years ago.
Much needed wet weather tracking in overnight as we roll through the day on Tuesday. We'll see the skies clearing again. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. We begin with new details of a tragic boating accident in Queens County.
2 children are dead after a boat capsized over the weekend. The incident happened on Lake Rossignol. RCMP say a 45-year-old man and 3 children were on board when it took on water and overturned Saturday evening. All 4 of the people in the boat managed to make it to shore, where the man started life-saving procedures until rescue crews arrived on the scene.
They were all airlifted to Halifax Hospital, where 2 of the children, both under the age of 10, were pronounced dead. The man and the other child suffered non-life-threatening injuries. RCMP say everyone in the boat was wearing life jackets when things took a turn for the worse.
Emergency responders who were part of the rescue mission did indicate how the waves, the lake was rough, it was windy, the lake had a rocky bottom. So because of the recent drought this summer, the water levels were low. So those were some of the conditions that they had to deal with during this operation.
Edwards describes the boat as a flat-bottom canoe with a motor, but she says the motor had stopped working. RCMP have confirmed a new detail in the investigation related to missing siblings Lily and Jack Sullivan. Early in the investigation, 2 people who live near the children's home in rural Pictou County said they heard a vehicle coming and going on their road that night. The witnesses reported hearing the vehicle after midnight, hours before the children were reported missing. But RCMP confirmed Monday that officers did a review of surveillance footage from that area and found no evidence of vehicles at that hour.
Lawyers in the trial of the former Halifax Ale House bouncer charged with manslaughter made their final arguments Monday. Alexander Levy is accused of killing Ryan Sawyer using a chokehold in December of 2022. A scuffle broke out with bouncers on the street outside the bar after Sawyer's brother Kyle shoved Levy. Prosecutor Rob Kennedy gave final submissions for the Crown.
Alex Levy was a very experienced bouncer or bar security member at the Ale House. He knew better. Ryan Sawyer did not deserve to die that day. Ryan Sawyer did not do anything aggressive or threatening up to the point that Alex Levy put a chokehold on him for an extended period of time.
In its closing submissions, the defense said Levy was acting in self-defense. Levy testified at the trial he held the chokehold for just 10 to 15 seconds and that he's used the technique dozens of times before without problem. The judge in the case will issue his decision November 26th.
Police are investigating after a man was found shot at a tent encampment in West End, Halifax. Police say they were called to Lower Flynn Park on Quinpool Road shortly before 10 a.m. Sunday morning. They found a 30-year-old man with a gunshot wound. He was taken to hospital with what police describe as life-threatening injuries.
An annual veteran banner campaign in one Cumberland County town continues to grow. As the CBC's Luca Ettinger reports, those behind the campaign hope that growth will help to recruit new members.
Cumberland County's Public Works crew hangs banners bearing veterans' names and faces in Spring Hill. It's an initiative that started in 2020 with just over 30 banners at the time. Now the portraits of more than 140 stretch along Main Street and Junction Road.
I had a father who was a prisoner of war in the Second World War, so we honored him. Plus, I have 2 uncles, his 2 brothers. We wanted them to be honored with these banners, and the families did too, so they're the ones that paid for the banners.
Adams joined the late Allison Rolfe to start the initiative to honor Spring Hill veterans. Now it's a team of 7 volunteers that's looking to grow even more.
We're all very proud of being able to honor our veterans and we would like to have people to be able to continue doing this with us. So if there's anyone who would like to join us, we would love to have you.
The banners, which are purchased by family members, honor veterans from the First World War through to Afghanistan.
A lot of people have moved away, especially because of the disaster in Spring Hill, and their families were very, very interested. And so a lot of these banners were from people that are now living away, but their members were here in Spring Hill, and a lot of them were miners.
The record number of banners this year are already in place ahead of Remembrance Day, and Bell and other volunteers hope there will be even more next year. Luke Ettinger, CBC News, Spring Hill.
And with us now, Ryan Snoddon to talk weather.
Yes, and it sounds like some showers are on the way.
Yeah, that's right. Much needed showers rolling in overnight and Tuesday, but it's a pretty quick moving main line that we'll see. And so I do think the sun will break back in Yarmouth, the Valley, in through the South Shore, into the metro area, possibly even Eastern Mainland by the end of the day tomorrow, as this line, as I'll show you, is going to move through pretty quickly. The southeast winds overnight into tomorrow morning are going to be gusting 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, so a little on the gusty side with this. Tuesday morning, that main line coming right through central areas of the province, already clearing pretty quickly in the morning for areas in the west. That line will work its way into Cape Breton by the afternoon. Behind that main line, expecting a mainly cloudy sky with a couple of spotty showers in there and the winds shifting to southwest, which are going to be keeping our temperatures mild. That system kicks out, and then we've got another round of wet weather coming in through late Wednesday into Wednesday night and Thursday morning. That one, possibly a little bit more. We'll get into the details on the totals and walk you right through into the weekend coming up in a few minutes. Tom and Amy?
Stay tuned for that. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
The Joggins Volunteer Fire Department has been stripped of its ability to fight fires. The municipality of Cumberland County announced the department has been deregistered. It says the department's leadership has been found to have training and technical deficiencies. It goes on to say there are numerous examples of misconduct and poor judgment, but also acknowledges the selfless work of volunteers over many years.
These decisions don't come easily. They're very tough. You know, you're in a spot where you're almost ripping the heart out of a community, and in one regard, you know, it's a long-standing tradition. That fire department has been there for a long, long time. But you know what? I think at the end of the day, the citizens will be better served, and so will the members. You know, if they get together, have a bigger, stronger department at the end of this, then you know what? I think that's a good thing for all of us, and especially for the citizens.
The neighboring River Hibbert Fire Department will now serve Joggins as well.
A Nova Scotia nonprofit has released a cookbook made up of meals from the province's new school lunch program. The book from Nourish Nova Scotia comes as the province has tried to make improvements to the program after complaints from parents and students. The organization released the book called What's for Lunch at an event in Halifax this weekend. The book is made up of 10 recipes students voted as their favorites.
Volunteers at the Reserve Mines Seniors and Pensioners Club have 500,000 reasons to celebrate after the group's Meals on Wheels program marked a major milestone. Kyle Moore has that story.
There was cheering and celebration as volunteers of the Reserve Mine Seniors and Pensioners Club served their 500,000th meal.
I think that's amazing. The place is great here.
Greg McLean was the 33rd person in line and helped mark the milestone. He and his wife have been coming for the hot meals since day one.
It's well needed around the community. I hope it continues forever.
Inside, a team of volunteers work like a well-oiled machine to dish up the food and get it out the door. Walter McKenzie has been lending a helping hand since the beginning and says they are like one big family.
A lot of camaraderie, we've done it now for 7 or 8 years now. We got a bunch of good women, we work together and have a good time.
And they've had lots of practice. The program began in 2018. At that time, more than 1,500 meals were made and delivered weekly.
This is only twice a month now that we do this now. It's not, we haven't got the funding to do this as often as we'd like.
Mel Bryden is hoping to secure funding to keep the program going. He says the need is there and they have a waiting list to prove it, and the demand is evident as cars lined up waiting to be served.
Because we're not a charity, it's very difficult to get some of the funding, that's available out there. We don't qualify for some of this stuff. We are a nonprofit, of course.
Bryden says he's hoping they can celebrate 1 million meals in the years to come. But for now, he's happy about their accomplishment and is thanking all that supported them over the years. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Reserve Mines.
A Halifax woman recently returned home from a trip of a lifetime. She went back to the UK for a class reunion with a big milestone. The CBC's Emma Davey has more.
Elizabeth Myers just did something that not many people get to experience. She met up with her classmates from 75 years ago.
It's heartwarming. For me, it was life-changing.
Myers traveled from Halifax to the UK to visit her old primary school near Manchester. She was one of 9 former students able to attend the reunion in September, their first time back since graduating in 1950. Myers said there was a lot of hugging and reminiscing.
Humor is a big part of it. We can laugh about old times, obviously, and we can laugh about the fact that we are very old and facing a very fragile future. We don't know what's going to happen, but somehow we are able to make light of it all, which is great. And that's me in the middle.
A lot has changed since Myers first started at primary school in 1944. At that time, the country was still in the midst of the Second World War.
There was rationing, air raid shelters, bombs dropping, all of those kinds of things happening. As young people, we didn't know any different. That was just life. But after World War II and VE Day, everything changed and just got better and better and better.
The school friends have kept in contact online over the last few years. But as they approached the big anniversary, the group of 86-year-olds decided it was time to go back. During their visit, they met up with a class of 11-year-old students, bridging the gap with another generation.
Meeting with those young children was, I'll get droopy. It was wonderful. We each told our individual stories briefly, all 9 of us, and the children asked lots and lots of really good questions.
Myers says she and her classmates plan to meet up again in person 3 years from now. But in the meantime, they'll keep up their monthly video calls.
And I would recommend to anybody, give them the chance, go find your old elementary school friends.
Emma Davey, CBC News, Halifax.
An annual charity event that calls itself the biggest cycling fundraiser in Atlantic Canada took place in Halifax on Saturday.
Organizers of the annual Ride for Cancer, hosted by the QE2 Foundation, say they've raised $15 million for cancer care in Nova Scotia since the event began a decade ago. The CBC's Josh Hoffman was there.
Congratulations, welcome to the finish line.
This is our 11th BMO Ride for Cancer, so we have 800 people out on the road and the trails raising money for cancer care for Nova Scotians. This is our signature event for the year, and it is huge for us. It's, the fundraising part is really important, but it's also a community event. What we know about this event is people take really personally who they're riding for.
I always like to do it because I like to support cancer care in Nova Scotia, but this year was special for me. I wasn't going to do it, and then my sister Susie was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I decided that I would come on out and ride because I love her. Yeah, and it hits different when it's your sister. Yeah. Our nephew has cancer. Our dad has cancer. One of our brothers has been recently diagnosed with cancer. It just felt like it feels really close to home this year.
What does that mean to you to have your sister do that for you?
Oh, it's fabulous. I really wish that I had been healthy enough to do it myself, and I'm hoping I can do it next year. So it's really special to have this time together. The fight was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I had the surgery, I've had chemo, I've had blood transfusions, I've finished my radiation, and now I'm on the road to recovery. Not 100% yet, but I'm doing well. And it's great to have the support of family and friends.
Yep, the tide is out in this shot from Cape Breton. Ryan is up next with the full weather forecast. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
This weather update is brought to you in part by Atlantic Lottery's iGames. Play hundreds of games on the Atlantic Lottery app or at alc.ca.
All right, we're almost downright giddy here because there's a bit of wet weather in the forecast.
Yeah, we've certainly been looking for it, and more to come after that.
Yeah, that's right. We're looking at 2 rounds this week, as I mentioned earlier. That first round coming in tonight into tomorrow morning, and then that next round really kind of later Wednesday night. And so, yeah, I think both rounds similar. Not enough, of course, but 5 to 10, maybe some 15-millimeter pockets, especially round 2. We'll dive into all of that first. How about this shot? This is a live shot, updates every few seconds from Parsboro. That's looking out towards Rockcliffe. And you can see just on the right-hand side of your screen, that's the sun setting there.
Oh, it's
just a little glimmer. And you can see the trees, still colorful there, but those two trees in the middle of the screen have lost quite a few leaves. And we're looking at that now. I think we're kind of past the
there,
peak.
aren't we? Yeah.
I guess so.
Starting to come around the other side, but still awfully beautiful across so many parts of the province this weekend. Hopefully you got out and enjoyed. There are your temperatures out there right now. Anywhere from 12 to 15 degrees across the mainland. A little cooler in Cape Breton, 10 to 12 degrees there. And as we look at the current winds, note that they've been in from the southeast already today for Yarmouth. Up to 20 kilometers per hour, 28 at Beaver Island, that coastal station there. You can see that the wind gusts up to 31 in Yarmouth, and we are going to be seeing some gusts upwards of 30 to even 40 and 50 kilometers per hour tonight, particularly in through the coastal Tri-County area and along that Atlantic coastline. As we look at the weather systems, this is where the clouds have been really capped today through most of the east. The sun has been breaking in for a good chunk of the day for western areas, but the clouds are rolling back in over the Gulf of Maine. Thick cloud cover starting to work its way in, and some of that wet weather with the shower activity. Most of this with a main band that will come across from west to east, and then we've got some lingering spotty showers on the back side of the system that will be in the mix through tomorrow afternoon. This secondary low, this is what's going to be moving in and bringing us the second round for Wednesday night in through Thursday. We'll time that out. First, a quick look at those temperatures. Very October, mid to late October-like across Canada right now, and that heat pretty much squished down to the lower third of the United States. Now, as we look at the forecast for tonight, temperatures are going to be ranging between around 11 and 14 degrees, so fairly mild. And as I mentioned, the southeast winds sustain 20, even 30 across parts of the mainland, with some gusts in the 40 to 50 kilometer per hour range, and shifting to southwest just before morning for the Tri-County area, Yarmouth, Digby, and Shelburne. Note the clouds will continue to thicken up here, and there's that main line of rain by the time we get to tomorrow morning. We're likely already seeing that clear out for Yarmouth and Digby and Shelburne, looking at clearing pretty quickly for Queens and up towards Liverpool, and Kings and Halifax will clear throughout the morning. As we move into the later part of the morning and the afternoon, that's when Cape Breton gets into the mix. And on the back side of that main line, just expecting a mainly cloudy sky, some breaks of sun, and some spotty showers intermixed here for the afternoon. So don't put the umbrella too far away, as there is that risk into the afternoon. Rainfall totals, as I mentioned earlier, not enough with this. We are likely to see kind of a widespread 5 to 10 millimeters from this shot, and then the chances for exceeding 10 millimeters getting up towards 15, maybe 20 localized areas, most likely along that Atlantic coastline. Can't rule it out, though, if we do see a heavier pocket rolling through, even towards northern areas. 14 to 17 across most of Cape Breton tomorrow, a little cooler in Ganesh there. Southeast winds gusting to 50 through a good portion of the day. Central areas getting into some of that sunshine, mid-teen temperatures as we look into the afternoon for western areas as well, with those winds from the southwest. Wednesday, great day. We should be around 12 or 13 this time of year, so we're punching well above our weight for Wednesday, 16 to 18 degrees. And you can see that rain is going to be working its way in. A couple of spotty showers possible late afternoon, but more so Wednesday evening into the overnight. This, again, looks like kind of a 5 to 10 millimeter shot, maybe some pockets to 15. And then back into the sunshine for Thursday. We'll clear out pretty early. Friday, Saturday, Sunday looking a little on the sluggish side in terms of those clouds, probably dominating a little bit more than the sun will Friday, Saturday. Some isolated shower chances, but still a little bit of disagreement here, so we'll see how that irons out. But seasonal temperatures end of the week and into the weekend. Tom and Amy.
Oh, there is that. Right. Okay. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
A PEI seafood company has a new way of storing lobsters thanks to some UPEI engineering students who helped design a new rainfall storage system.
The system makes it easier to load and unload pallets of lobsters while keeping them wet and healthy. The CBC's Nancy Russell has more.
A PEI company is using a new way to store lobsters and other shellfish for short periods of time. Baitmasters describes this as a rainfall system because the water is sprayed from above as compared to the traditional method using tanks of water with the containers of lobster inside.
It's time and money. I mean, it's with a traditional tank, it's very labor intensive. And a lot of what we do here, we're short-term holding, where we're picking up lobsters at several wharfs, bringing them back here for short-term, and then putting them on the truck either that day or the next day.
Prevost says the company buys and sells large volumes of lobster, especially during the busy spring season.
a lot less handling of the lobster and shocking because it's getting a continuous amount of oxygen and water. Lobsters like to be cold and wet. This is giving them everything that they need.
Baitmasters reached out to UPEI's Faculty of Sustainable Design Engineering, which offers a program where industry partners work with students on design projects. In this case, one of the biggest challenges was finding a way to test the prototype that the students created.
We don't use any animals in our testing or prototyping. We don't use any humans in our prototyping. So the students decided, well, let's use a balloon, long-shaped, narrow balloons, simulate lobsters, put them in the crates, and that proved their concept that, yes, we can keep our lobsters healthy.
Baitmasters took the student design and had it built this summer. So far, the results have been good.
It's a lot of effort to get it together, so it was nice to have it in there, and it's nice to know that the mortality rate seems the same as what comes out of the tank, so it's really good. It's a good feeling.
The design cost $7,500, with Innovation PEI picking up half the cost, which took the fourth-year students about 600 hours.
Well, we'd like to be able to market it as a product that we can sell. I mean, it's Canadian innovation. There hasn't been very many changes to how we store and hold lobsters up until now.
The new system costs more than the traditional one, but the rainfall tank can hold 3 times the number of pallets. So Baitmasters says the new system will pay for itself in reduced labor costs in 2 years or less. Nancy Russell, CBC News, 9 Mile Creek.
Coming up, we'll hear more from the RCMP about the tragic boating accident that claimed the lives of 2 children in Queens County. Boating accident on Lake Rossignol, not far from Kejimkujik National Park over the weekend, claimed the lives of 2 children aged 10 or younger. 4 people were in a boat, including 1 adult man and 3 children. Constable Mandy Edwards speaks for the Halifax Regional Detachment of the RCMP. So, Constable, this all unfolded Saturday afternoon. When exactly did the call to 911 come in, and who made that call?
So we received a 911 call at about 4:56 p.m. and it was actually made by the man who was in the boat with the children. He had reported that they were in distress. Their boat had taken on water and was overturned, and they were making their way to shore.
And so what do you know about the conditions that led to the boat capsizing?
Well, I didn't know anything at the time, but the rescue emergency responders who were part of the rescue mission did indicate how the waves, the lake was rough, it was windy, the lake had a rocky bottom. So because of the recent drought this summer, the water levels were low. So those were some of the conditions that they had to deal with during this operation.
And what do we know about what kind of boat it was?
Yeah, we know that it was a flat-bottomed canoe that had a small motor on it. And apparently the motor stopped working and the wave action on the lake, the boat was taking on water and they were trying to bail it out, but unfortunately the boat overturned.
Okay, and so people who don't know, this is a large lake in Nova Scotia. These folks out boating, what do we know about whether all 4 had life jackets on or not?
Yeah, we do know that personal flotation devices were worn. So that was not an issue, but the fact that we had young children out in pretty choppy lake conditions probably impeded their ability to get to shore.
And what do we know about that? Did all 4 people try to swim to shore? Did they all make it to shore?
So what we know is that we were able to get in touch via the phone system. So there was still a cell phone that was able to be used by the man and the children. So we were able to make contact. The man was attempting to perform life-saving measures on the children, while one of the other children was on the phone with our dispatch, helping to get our emergency responders in the right direction. It's a pretty large lake, so they were having troubles themselves trying to locate this party.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that, because it's such a key point in all of this. What role did search and rescue play? How did those rescuers get to that scene?
So the rescuers were RCMP, EHS, various fire departments, as well as a search and rescue helicopter. So while the man was performing life-saving measures on the other 2 children, one of the children maintained communication on the phone and was able to listen for the helicopter that was being deployed to help look for them. So they were able to find their exact location by maintaining that communication.
And then how were those 4 people taken out of the area? Was it by helicopter?
Yes, they were removed from the area by helicopter and were transported to hospital.
What do you know about how the survivors are doing?
What I know is that the 2 survivors are currently in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
And do you know much, or can you say much about how these people were related to each other?
I can't comment on the relationship, just that all 4 were from the Fall River area.
This is such a tragic story, and I know it gripped a lot of people over the weekend. I mean, in your profession and in your role here, what comes to mind to you when you look at the details of this story?
Yeah, so we kind of think about boater safety, and I believe that they did what they should have done. They had a destination, they had a cell phone, they were using personal flotation devices, they had checked the weather prior to going out and everything looked fine. But as we know in Nova Scotia, things can change quickly, and it just happens that sometimes tragedy does happen.
I really appreciate you spending some time to tell us a little bit more about this and help us understand the situation, how it all transpired. Constable Mandy Edwards of the RCMP, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Coming up, Louvre heist. Thieves in France make off with priceless crown jewels in a brazen daytime museum robbery.
And playoff run. The Toronto Blue Jays are one step closer to the World Series. It all hinges on Game 7 tonight against the Seattle Mariners. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's confident the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip will endure despite a flare-up of violence over the weekend.
Israel and Hamas have both recommitted to the U.S. brokered peace deal after pressure from Washington. And aid deliveries are flowing into the enclave again. The CBC's Crystal Gabansing has details from southern Israel near the border with Gaza.
A relatively quiet skyline looking towards Gaza. It wasn't like that earlier in the day. Israel Defense Forces said that again they saw violations of the yellow line. That's the line in which Israeli forces pulled back to On the other side of that yellow line, they say it is an active combat zone. And today, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, said that anyone approaching that yellow line would be considered a target for attack. Now, in Gaza City area today, Israel Defense Forces say they did fire on several people who were approaching that yellow line. These violations have been occurring over the past several days. People in Gaza say they are unaware of where that yellow line is, and it's causing a lot of confusion. Yellow barriers are being put up in different locations to help people know exactly where they can and cannot go. But according to the Hamas-run health ministry, in the past 24 hours, 47 people have been killed. Now, the airstrikes we saw yesterday right across Gaza, they were in response, according to Israel, to blatant violations of the ceasefire. They say that their troops came under attack in the Rafah area and 2 soldiers were killed. Now, it is much calmer, and we did hear from U.S. President Donald Trump saying any violations would be dealt with toughly. Now, his special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are back in Israel tonight. They are here talking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Tomorrow, the vice president will be here to join those meetings. J.D. Vance expected to arrive in Israel for those high-level talks. Meanwhile, some aid is starting to move again into Gaza. We don't know how many aid crossings are opening or how much aid actually went through. As a part of the peace agreement, about 600 trucks a day are supposed to be crossing. People in Gaza are saying that they just want to go back to the peace deal, but it appears one area of a sticking point and concern is that yellow line and the potential for more deadly interactions. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Sderot, Israel.
The largest and most famous museum in the world remains closed for a second day after a brazen heist. On Sunday, thieves broke into the Louvre in Paris in broad daylight while visitors were inside and then got away on motorcycles with several priceless pieces of French history. Chris Brown reports.
To Louvre tourists, it seemed incredulous that it only took thieves 7 minutes to break in and make off with what amounts to France's crown jewels.
I was just shocked. It feels like a museum like this would have the security that would stop something like that.
I think the French people feel like they've been robbed, said Justice Minister Gérald Darmanin, as the audacity of the theft and what he called the deplorable image it gives of France sunk in. 4 thieves, apparently dressed as construction workers, first used a ladder to climb up the outside of the building and then powered glass cutters to get in through a window to the Apollo Gallery.
The fact that it was done in daylight is also astounding, but if you look like you belong, so I guess they used that rule.
The only clue that they left that should have raised a red flag was that the workers were working on the museum on a Sunday in Paris. Nobody works on Sunday in Paris at 9 a.m.
The thieves were reportedly unarmed, but threatened staff before smashing glass cases and making off with 8 items, including necklaces, earrings, and a brooch. Some of the jewelry belonged to French royalty, others to the wife of Emperor Napoleon.
And once they're been cut into smaller jewels, the deed is done. It's over. We'll never see these pieces again intact.
So, cracking the case fast is essential. Suddenly, museums everywhere are worried.
They are afraid that local thieves will think, well, you know, they took it off with the Louvre, let's try our local museum. So that's the biggest fear now in the museum world.
More than a century ago, a decorator hid in the Louvre overnight and walked out the next morning with the Mona Lisa under his apron. It was recovered 2 years later when he tried to sell it. Investigators will hope they get a similar break with this robbery. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Scrutiny over Prince Andrew's ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein shows no sign of easing up. A posthumous memoir by Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre hits bookstores Tuesday. She alleges she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew at 17 after she was trafficked by Epstein. Giuffre took her own life in April. Julia Chapman reports from London.
Palace insiders will be holding their breath ahead of tomorrow's publication of Virginia Giuffre's memoir. She accused Jeffrey Epstein of trafficking her to rich and powerful men, including Britain's Prince Andrew. The King's brother denies this and says he has no recollection of ever meeting Giuffre. Now, some members of the media have already read the book and describe it as courageous, harrowing and important. It's not expected to contain any bombshells about Prince Andrew or any other alleged abusers, but it's the detail and the context that will give a fuller picture of Giuffre's difficult life and of the powerful world of abusers that she briefly inhabited. Perhaps in anticipation of the book coming out, Prince Andrew last week said he was giving up his titles, including the Duke of York. But some members of Parliament here want to formally remove them with legislation. An MP for York says many people in her constituency don't want to be associated with Prince Andrew anymore. Police are also investigating new allegations made by a newspaper over the weekend. The Mail on Sunday reported that Prince Andrew asked his taxpayer-funded police security to find information about Virginia Giuffre in an apparent attempt to smear her. He hasn't commented on that accusation. All of this threatens to overshadow King Charles's state visit to the Vatican this week. He'll become the first British monarch to pray with a pope since the creation of the Church of England. It's a historic moment, and the royal family will be hoping it can push Andrew out of the headlines. Julia Chapman, CBC News, London.
The Liberal government says it's moving ahead with an old promise to create a new financial crimes agency targeting online scams. It's the latest announcement leading up to Prime Minister Mark Carney's first budget that's expected to have a significant deficit. As the CBC's Ashley Burke reports, the opposition is already pushing back and putting forward its own demands.
We're starting the week strong,
To promote his upcoming budget, the finance minister vowing to crack down on fraudsters, giving an old Liberal promise new life.
This is going to be Canada's lead enforcement agency for combating financial crimes.
The new agency would focus on money laundering, organized crime, and online scams. A 2021 election promise revived.
What's taking so long?
Well, I'm taking that over now, so it's going to happen. That's the reality.
Ahead of next month's budget, the Liberals have made a series of spending announcements.
To get tough on bail.
But they say the Prime Minister's first budget will focus on austerity too.
We're going to spend less, we're going to invest more.
Will they cap their inflationary deficits?
But to support the budget, the Conservatives have demands, including a deficit no bigger than $42 billion.
They can call it the government spending, government investment, the fluffy kitten fund. The result is the same. It comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians.
Deficit estimates vary. The latest from the C.D. Howe Institute suggesting it could be as high as $100 billion.
A large deficit number indicates that we can look forward to paying higher taxes, for every dollar of services we get from the federal government. And that's a recipe, among other things, for a cranky electorate.
The Bloc Québécois and NDP have a list of requests, too.
There's one thing that we control at the Bloc Québécois, and we control what we ask for.
We communicated very clearly that we would not be able to support a budget that takes an austerity approach.
The Prime Minister's cabinet has been asked to find what's being called ambitious savings, and we could see the first sign of those cuts in the budget on November 4th. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
If you had difficulty online early Monday morning trying to use your favorite social media app, buying something on the web, or accessing your company's site, you weren't alone. Millions of people around the world shared that frustration, all caused by an internal outage at e-commerce giant Amazon. The CBC's Alison Northcott explains.
Thousands of businesses and apps rely on Amazon's cloud services for data storage and other digital services. So when there's a problem, there's a major ripple effect.
Facebook, Zoom, Snapchat, Ring, doorbells, Sony's PlayStation Network, even the McDonald's app.
It began early Monday morning.
So no matter where you were in the world, if the company whose website or app that you were trying to access relied on Amazon Web Services, it either wasn't available completely or it was experiencing outages.
Within hours,
we saw an avalanche of outage reports start to flood into Down Detector, and this was not unique to one particular service. This was across thousands of different services.
Down Detector, which tracks outages, says it received nearly 10 million reports. More than 350,000 were from users in Canada. It normally gets around 1 million over an entire day.
The scale is very, very unique, and I suppose it points to the foundational role of AWS in the entire internet infrastructure.
AWS has unmatched experience and
Amazon Web Services is one of 3 major players offering cloud services, along with Microsoft and Google.
If we're putting all of our eggs into so few baskets, well, when one of those baskets has a problem, it's going to affect a lot of people.
The Toronto Blue Jays warned on X fans who got tickets through Ticketmaster should hold off on managing your tickets. The team later said the issue was being resolved.
I just couldn't access anything, and I noticed I was getting a lot of error messages.
And this small business owner couldn't access payroll accounts for 3 hours.
As a small family-run business, you've got so many balls in the air all the time. And so when something like this happens, it's difficult to juggle and balls get dropped.
Amazon Web Services said early in the day it had identified the problem and was working to fully restore service as quickly as possible. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Well, it is all on the line for Canadian baseball fans. The Toronto Blue Jays are just one victory away from going to the World Series with home field advantage after an incredible Game 6 win against the Seattle Mariners Sunday night to tie up the American League Championship Series 3-3. And as the CBC's Thomas Daigle tells us, the excitement on game day couldn't be higher.
Yeah, what kind does he want? A quick stop at the Jays shop before the big game. Fans scooping up playoff gear, knowing their team's postseason dreams could soon be over or just beginning.
It's the biggest game today, Game 7, since 1993. So everybody's excited. Everybody's on a high.
I know Toronto sports teams don't really do well in Game 7s, especially the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'm praying that the Blue Jays could beat the curse.
Across Canada, Blue Jays fever is spreading, with Monday's do-or-die Game 7 for the American League pennant.
It's pretty freaking cool that we are where we are, I'm not going to lie. And you got to keep your foot on the gas.
The Jays battled back from the brink of elimination at home Sunday night as Vladimir Guerrero Jr. smashed his 6th postseason home run, tying a franchise record.
This incredible October continues for Vlad.
And getting fans everywhere fired up.
This is historic, what he is doing, not just by Blue Jay standards, by Major League standards.
Tonight, the Jays are sending veteran starting pitcher Shane Bieber to the mound. But in a move only seen in games this crucial, any pitcher could be called in, including ace Kevin Gausman and 2-time World Series winner Max Scherzer.
It means everything. Very excited for the opportunity. I think a culmination of a lot of events and hard work to get to this point.
With a win, the Mariners would clinch a spot in the World Series for the first time in franchise history. If the Blue Jays managed to pull out a victory, it would be their first trip to baseball's biggest stage in 32 years. Each team is chasing history in what's sure to be a hard-fought battle. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada's main stock index made gains Monday, helped by strength in the base metals sector, while U.S. markets also surged higher. Here's a look at the numbers as we head to commercial break.
This weather update is brought to you in part by Atlantic Lottery's iGames. Play hundreds of games on the Atlantic Lottery app or at alc.ca.
All right, picture time. Who's got a picture? Ryan has a picture, of course.
And it's a beautiful time of year.
It really is. The inbox, as I say, almost every night is just filling up, which is great. And again, thank you to everybody for contributing. But here's just one of many beautiful shots that did come in. Have a look. We're going to go back to Cape Breton. And of course, the Highlands right now are just popping. Highland Lynx. And have a look at this.
Yeah, that's a postcard right there.
It sure is, isn't it? Beautiful colors.
Trish McCormick, so many great picks. She's contributing so many as well. Just everybody, thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful scenes out there right now, and it's lovely to show everybody at home. Okay, so there's the area of high pressure over Newfoundland. This low coming in from the west is going to run into that high. It'll kind of fade off. The center of the low will kind of fade off to the north and west, but we'll still see that band of showers tracking in overnight into tomorrow. From west to east, we'll see the clearing skies in behind, so into some sunshine into the afternoon with just a chance for an isolated shower. Nice start to Wednesday, and then that secondary push of moisture will come in by the time we get to late Wednesday afternoon, more so into Wednesday evening. Now, the first round is looking set to bring about 5 to 10 millimeters with some pockets that will get up into the 10, 15, 20 millimeter range perhaps along the Atlantic coastline. And then it's that next round that comes in Wednesday that looks to be dropping probably about the same, about 5 to 10 mils. That one is then going to be pushing off towards the east as well by the time we get to Thursday. Maybe a lingering shower in the morning for Cape Breton. Otherwise, Thursday turning bright with a mix of sun and cloud. There are your temperatures for Tuesday. We should be around 12 or 13 this time of year. So certainly above average for those temps, not only for Tuesday, but for Wednesday. Even Thursday looks comfortably into the mid-teens. Similar story for Friday. We're kind of back to reality in terms of temperatures for the weekend. It does look a little uncertain this weekend. Clouds perhaps a bit stubborn, especially over northern areas with a chance for an isolated shower. We'll revisit that.
Yeah, okay. Not bad though. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Well, the South American city of Santiago hosted the 2025 Zombie Walk over the weekend. Participants transformed the city into a terrifying scene under the motto, "Monsters gather to celebrate."
This year's parade honored a Chilean horror icon, the sinister Dr. Mortis, a character created in 1945 for a radio drama.
Participants also got to compete in a costume contest celebrating the art of imagination and all things spooky.
They really got into it, didn't they? That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.